Yeah, so there's a lot that goes on with these systems, and Marco has been battling shear, which is not good for a storm like this, and that is why we've seen it weaken. But we're going to look at the wind speeds and talk a little bit about that. But we've got Tropical Storm Marco and Laura. We're looking at Marco not far off the coast at this point. I want to show both tracks at the same time, so stay with me as Laura will continue to ride right along the southern coast of Cuba as Marco starts to scoot along the Louisiana coast. See how it takes a sharp turn to the west, then they intersect. But Marco's going to kind of fizzle out right over southeast Texas as we go into Wednesday, just before Laura makes landfall right along the Louisiana coast. So some of these same locations are going to have impacts from both storms. So let's start with looking at now Tropical Storm Marco. Here's the latest. Winds are at 70 miles per hour. To be considered a hurricane, you need 74-mile-per-hour winds. We're talking about 4-mile-per-hour difference. So really the impacts are not going to change much, whether it's called a tropical storm or whether it's called a hurricane. Now, what's going to happen with this storm, it's going to continue to move to the north-northwest until it starts to scoot off to the west. So we do have hurricane warnings and hurricane watches still in effect for the Louisiana coast because of heavy rainfall and flooding, which I think is going to be the main concern because of the track of the storm and the storm surge. So here's a look at some of the storm surge, 1 to 3 feet that touches the Texas-Louisiana state line, 2 to 4 feet as you get closer, and then 4 to 6 for New Orleans and some of those locations. Now, because of the track of this storm, I am concerned with some really bad flooding along the Louisiana coast. Now let's go to Laura, which still a lot of uncertainty, but it is continuing to strengthen despite interaction with land. This is a storm that we need to watch very carefully. It's 65-mile-per-hour winds out there right now, Sunday night at 10 o'clock. It's going to continue to make its way into the Gulf of Mexico, where temperatures in the Gulf right now are 2 degrees above normal, 86 degrees. That is going to ignite a fire in the storm once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. And it does look like right before landfall, it intensifies to a Category 2. I don't think we look at the categories at this point, but some of these locations are going to see impacts of both of these storms. How does this impact North Texas? We're going to have that coming up in a few minutes.
All right. Thank you so much, Kaylee. Governor Greg Abbott is already mobilizing state resources to prepare for a possible hit from these systems. This afternoon, he issued a state disaster declaration for 23 counties.
And so this is the time when everyone needs to begin preparing for these oncoming hurricanes and make sure that you take action to save your lives.
The change in these tracks has Galveston County leaders watching every update so closely. They're carefully working on a plan in the middle of this pandemic. The county judge there stressed that everyone should have a strategy for their family in place, including thinking about medications you need and also a plan for your pets. So many of us here in North Texas have family and friends along the Gulf, so you'll appreciate knowing that we've already sent in some backup. To get ready to answer a possible call for help, the Flower Mound Fire Department is stepping in. A team of firefighters and equipment left this morning. They will stage in San Antonio as they wait for assignment. Now, we don't know yet how these storms will play out, but we do know how costly damage can be. Texas saw the second most expensive hurricane ever. That's according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association. It was Harvey in 2017 at $125 billion. The biggest cost from that storm? Flooding. USA Today reports as many as 80% of properties damaged did not have flood insurance. You know, there are a lot of specifics on when you can buy that flood insurance, coastal population, and more that factor into storm recovery and how it all adds up. Our Jason Wheeler is tallying up all of that for us in his latest Right on the Money report, and you can catch it here tomorrow night in our news at 10. Also, don't forget you can track these storms anywhere you go, anytime. Just download the WFAA app and you'll find radars free in your app store.